If dark stories keep you up at night, hit subscribe now, because this one will stay with you long after it ends. The police sirens echoed through the quiet Chicago suburb just after midnight. Blue lights bounced off perfectly trimmed lawns and expensive SUVs as patrol cars screeched to a stop outside a two-story brick home on Ashford Lane. A mother stood barefoot on the driveway, her voice hoarse from screaming, clutching her phone so tightly her knuckles had turned white. "My son is gone," she kept repeating. "She took my son." Inside the house, a half-finished dinner still sat on the kitchen table. A glass of apple juice, a plate of untouched pasta shaped like dinosaurs. A small blue jacket hung neatly over the back of a chair. There was no sign of a struggle, no broken locks, no shattered windows, just absence. 5-year-old Mason Carter had vanished, and so had his babysitter. Within minutes, the home transformed into an active crime scene. Officers moved carefully through the house, photographing everything. A stuffed toy lay on the living room carpet, its plastic eyes staring blankly toward the front door. Detective Ryan Keller stepped inside, scanning the room with a calm, practiced gaze. He had worked missing person cases for nearly 15 years, but something about this one felt off. "Walk me through it again," he said gently to Mason's mother, Laura Carter, who sat trembling on the couch wrapped in a blanket. Laura's voice cracked as she spoke. "We hired Olivia 8 months ago. She was perfect, sweet, responsible. Mason loved her. We trusted her." Her husband, Daniel Carter, stood nearby, his face pale and tight with disbelief. "We went to dinner," he said. "Just 3 hours. When we came back, the house was quiet. Too quiet." "No note?" Keller asked. Laura shook her head. "Nothing. Just gone." "Did she take any of her belongings?" Keller asked. Daniel swallowed. "We checked her room in the guest suite. Most of her clothes are gone. Her suitcase, too." The words settled heavily in the air. This wasn't a break-in. This wasn't a random abduction. The babysitter had left and taken the child with her. Within the hour, Olivia Grant's name and photo were circulating across police networks. 24 years old. Clean background check. No criminal record. 2 years of childcare experience. Excellent references. On paper, she was the last person anyone would suspect. But paper didn't explain why she had disappeared with a child who wasn't hers. Detective Keller stood in the kitchen studying a printed photo pinned to the fridge. It showed Olivia smiling between Mason and his parents at a birthday party. She looked warm, trustworthy, normal, too normal. "Pull her phone records," Keller told a uniformed officer. "Bank activity, social media, everything. I want to know who Olivia Grant really is." Outside, neighbors gathered in small clusters under streetlights, whispering. Some clutched robes around their bodies. Others filmed from their phones. News vans were already arriving, their satellite dishes rising into the night sky like mechanical vultures. By morning, the story had exploded across local media. 5-year-old missing. Babysitter identified as person of interest. Inside the Carter home, the silence was unbearable. Laura sat at the kitchen table staring at her phone, willing it to ring. Every passing minute felt heavier than the last. Daniel paced endlessly between rooms. "She wouldn't hurt him," he said suddenly. "Olivia wouldn't hurt Mason." Detective Keller didn't respond immediately. He had learned long ago that trust often blurred judgment. "Sometimes," he said carefully, "people aren't who we think they are." At the police station, Olivia's digital life began unfolding on screens. Her Instagram showed smiling selfies, coffee shops, park outings with Mason. Nothing unusual, nothing alarming. But then a tech analyst frowned. "Detective, you need to see this." Keller leaned over the monitor. A second account appeared, private, recently deleted but recovered through backup servers. The photos were different, darker, more secretive. Expensive hotel lobbies, airport lounges, selfies in cities the Carters had never mentioned her visiting. Where was she getting money for this? Keller murmured. Then came the bank records. Large cash withdrawals over several weeks. Transfers to unfamiliar accounts. Purchases of prepaid phones. This wasn't impulsive. It was planned. Meanwhile, patrol units scanned highways leaving the city. Airports were alerted. Border authorities notified. Every second mattered. At 2:14 p.m., nearly 12 hours after Mason vanished, a traffic camera picked up a silver sedan matching Olivia's car heading west on Interstate 88. The image was grainy, but clear enough. "She's moving," Keller said sharply. "Alert state police. We have a direction." As officers scrambled to coordinate, another discovery emerged. Olivia had not acted alone. Phone records revealed repeated calls to a number registered under a fake name. The device had pinged cell towers in multiple states over the past month, always near locations Olivia had secretly visited. Keller stared at the call log, a cold realization forming. Someone had been guiding her, helping her, planning this. Who is he? Keller whispered. Hours later, officers executed a search warrant on Olivia's small apartment across town. Inside, the place was nearly empty. Closets cleared, drawers wiped clean. But in the bedroom closet, hidden beneath loose floorboards, they found something that stopped the entire investigation cold. A passport. Not one. 3. Each bearing Olivia Grant's photo, each with a different name. And beside them, a printed photograph of Mason, taken just days earlier, placed neatly inside an envelope labeled in black ink. Phase 2. Detective Keller stared at it in silence, the weight of the case suddenly shifting into something far more dangerous. Because this wasn't just a babysitter running away with a child. This was an operation. And wherever Olivia Grant was going, she wasn't planning to come back. The courtroom was silent except for the low hum of the air conditioner and the occasional shuffle of papers. Every seat was filled. Reporters leaned forward with their pens ready. Something about this case had gripped the city, and no one could look away. Daniel Cross sat at the defense table, calm but pale. He wore a tailored suit that suggested confidence, yet his fingers tapped nervously against the wood. Across the room, 12 jurors watched him closely. They weren't just looking at a man anymore. They were looking at a mystery. Detective Laura Gomez stood near the witness stand, flipping through a thick folder of evidence. She had spent months on this case. Long nights. Endless interviews. But today was different. Today, she was about to reveal the piece of evidence that changed everything. Your Honor, the prosecutor began, standing tall. The state calls Detective Laura Gomez to the stand. Laura walked forward, each step echoing through the silent courtroom. She raised her hand, took the oath, and sat down. Her eyes briefly met Daniel's. He quickly looked away. Detective, the prosecutor said, please tell the court what you discovered on the night of May 12th. Laura took a slow breath. At 11:42 p.m., we received a call from a private security guard reporting suspicious activity near an abandoned warehouse on Harbor Street. When officers arrived, they found signs of forced entry and a locked basement door. The courtroom leaned in. What happened next? The prosecutor asked. We forced the door open, Laura said. Inside, we found the missing child. A gasp rippled through the room. The judge struck the gavel. Order in the court. Laura continued, her voice steady but heavy. The child was unharmed but frightened. She told us she had been kept there for 2 days. She also said something else, something that led us directly to the suspect. The prosecutor paused dramatically. And what was that? Laura reached into the evidence folder and pulled out a small, folded drawing. It was a child's crayon sketch. She said the man who took her wore a silver watch with a cracked face, Laura explained. She drew this from memory. The drawing was displayed on a large screen for the courtroom to see. A simple stick figure with a very specific watch. Every eye slowly turned toward Daniel Cross. He instinctively covered his wrist. But it was too late. The prosecutor stepped forward. Detective, when Daniel Cross was arrested, what was found on his person? Laura didn't hesitate. A silver watch with a cracked face. Exactly as described. Murmurs spread like wildfire. The judge slammed the gavel again. Silence. Daniel's lawyer stood quickly. Objection, Your Honor. A watch proves nothing. Thousands of people own similar watches. The judge nodded. Sustained. The jury will consider the evidence carefully. But the damage had been done. The jurors stared at Daniel with new suspicion. Laura wasn't finished. There's more, she said quietly. The courtroom froze. We pulled surveillance footage from a gas station 3 blocks from the warehouse. At 9:17 p.m., the night of the kidnapping, a black sedan was captured on camera. She paused. The license plate matched Daniel Cross's vehicle. The screen flickered to life again. Grainy footage filled the room. A car pulled into frame. The timestamp glowed in the corner. And then the image zoomed in on the driver. Even through the blur, the resemblance was undeniable. Daniel Cross lowered his head. For the first time since the trial began, he looked afraid. The prosecutor faced the jury. Ladies and gentlemen, this is only the beginning. Outside the courthouse, reporters were already sending breaking news alerts. Inside, the tension was thick enough to cut with a knife. But as Detective Laura Gomez returned to her seat, one question hung in the air. If the evidence was so clear, why did Daniel Cross keep insisting he was being framed? On one side, Daniel Cross, a man whose life had been systematically dismantled, accused of a crime so heinous it defied belief, the kidnapping of his own daughter, Lily. His face, etched with despair, was a canvas of a year spent in a living nightmare. It all started with a simple, frantic phone call. Lily was gone. The police arrived, and suspicion quickly, almost unnaturally, fell on Daniel. His recent business failure, the strained relationship with his ex-wife, Olivia Grant, it all painted the picture of a desperate man. But Daniel knew he was innocent. He was just a father drowning in grief, now being pulled under by the currents of a justice system that seemed convinced of his guilt. Enter Detective Isabella Gomez. She wasn't like the others. Where they saw an open and shut case, she saw loose threads. Daniel's alibi, initially dismissed, checked out perfectly. The ransom notes, supposedly from Daniel, had subtle inconsistencies in their digital signature that didn't quite add up. Gomez was a bloodhound for the details others overlooked. She spent countless nights poring over financial records, phone logs, and security footage, driven by a gut feeling that something was deeply wrong. She revisited the crime scene, not looking for evidence against Daniel, but for anything at all, that had been missed. And that's when she found it. A tiny, almost invisible discrepancy in the timeline provided by Olivia. The trial was a spectacle. The prosecution laid out its case, painting Daniel as a monster. But when Detective Gomez took the stand, the entire narrative shifted. She didn't just present evidence. She wove a story of deception. She presented bank records showing massive, unexplained cash withdrawals from Olivia's account just days before the kidnapping. Then, she dropped the bombshell. Encrypted messages, painstakingly recovered from a supposedly wiped hard drive. The messages were between Olivia and Mark Reynolds, Daniel's former business partner and supposed best friend. The courtroom gasped as their plan was laid bare on the screen. A cold, calculated plot to frame Daniel, collect a hefty insurance payout, and start a new life together, all built on the ruins of Daniel's. Olivia's facade crumbled. Her composure shattered into a million pieces as her own words condemned her. Mark, sitting in the gallery, tried to flee but was swiftly apprehended by officers waiting in the wings. The chaos in the courtroom was a stark contrast to the sudden clarity of the truth. Daniel was exonerated, the words, "not guilty," echoing like a thunderclap of vindication. He walked out a free man, but not the same man who had walked in. The reunion with Lily was a torrent of tears and relief, a fragile moment of peace after a storm of betrayal. While the villains faced justice, the scars remained. Daniel had his freedom and his daughter, but the experience had taught him a brutal lesson about the darkness that can hide behind the most familiar faces. He began rebuilding his life, piece by piece, forever changed by the conspiracy that almost cost him everything. Thank you for watching. If you found this story compelling, please like and subscribe for more true-life dramas. Your business partner, Mark Reynolds, disappears, and suddenly, all fingers point at you. You're dragged into a courtroom, accused of kidnapping and potentially murder. The evidence seems stacked against you. Emails, financial records, all manipulated to paint you as a monster. The prosecution is relentless. The media is having a field day, and your life is crumbling before your very eyes. Hopeless, right? But wait, there's a twist. Enter Detective Isabella Gomez. She's a seasoned investigator with a gut feeling that just won't quit. Something about the case feels off, too neat, too perfect. While the courtroom drama unfolds, with lawyers battling and witnesses testifying, Gomez starts digging behind the scenes. She ignores the noise and follows the faint trail of inconsistencies that everyone else missed. She pores over phone records, security footage, and financial transactions, looking for that one loose thread. And she finds it. A tiny detail. A burner phone purchased by Mark's seemingly distraught wife, Olivia Grant. Why would a grieving wife need a secret phone? Gomez pulls on this thread, and the whole elaborate story begins to unravel. She discovers a secret affair between Olivia and Mark's supposed best friend. But the real shocker? Mark wasn't kidnapped at all. He and Olivia staged the entire thing. It was a cold-blooded scheme to frame Daniel, cash in on a massive insurance policy, and start a new life together with the money. Gomez tracks the money trail to a series of offshore accounts, leading her straight to a secluded cabin hundreds of miles away. The police raid the cabin, and who do they find? Mark and Olivia, living it up, completely unaware their game is over. They're caught red-handed, their web of lies exposed for the world to see. Back in the courtroom, just as the jury is about to deliver a verdict that would have sealed Daniel's fate, Detective Gomez bursts in with the irrefutable evidence. The courtroom is in chaos. The truth is revealed. Mark and Olivia are the real villains, and Daniel is completely innocent. The charges against him are dropped, and he walks out a free man, his name cleared. Mark and Olivia, on the other hand, trade their luxury hideout for a jail cell, facing the justice they so cleverly tried to escape. It's a powerful reminder that the truth, no matter how deeply buried, always finds its way to the light. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more incredible stories.